Happy holidays from all of us here at Wealthion to all of you. I'm one of your hosts here at Wealthion, Andrew Brill. We took a look back at this year and hope you enjoy these favorite guest moments from one of our best interviews of 2024.
You are genius level at predictions. Okay, so last time I had you on the show, Bitcoin, it was in the mid 50s to high 60s range. You said we're going to 100,000. I said, when are we getting to 100,000? You said by the end of the year. Okay, yeah. So why did you say that? What did you see? And what do you see for Bitcoin over the next 6 months?
Part of the reason we have stayed constructive on Bitcoin is the price is following closely the prior halving cycles. The halving cycle, for your viewers, is when the block reward gets cut in half. That happened earlier this year. So there's a reduction in new supply. And the sweet spot of that price gain as supply is cut starts to happen towards the end of this year and then into next year. And I think that has supported why we expected Bitcoin to be 100,000. And over the next 12 months, I think something over 250,000 is possible, but maybe highly probable based on just this following this price cycle. The second reason I think Bitcoin has maybe more upside than that is because the new administration has run on a pro-Bitcoin platform. And I think that the possibility of the U.S. not only legitimizing Bitcoin, but making it a strategic reserve asset, I think raises what would be the possible price scenarios for Bitcoin. Because if the U.S. government, as they intend, ultimately gets to 1 million Bitcoin, they'll be the largest holder of Bitcoin in the world. And they'd exert enormous positive influence on legitimizing Bitcoin. And maybe I would just add to that, it's almost like taking a playbook from MicroStrategy, because MicroStrategy has proven that using Bitcoin as a balance sheet asset has really created a lot of value for MicroStrategy shareholders.
So I'm a Bitcoin holder. I believe you're a Bitcoin holder. There are other coins out there. Some of those coins have not done it well at all. They've diverged from Bitcoin. And there's a few coins like Solana that have done quite well. I had an investment in something that I think you did some research on called Algorand. Unfortunately, has not done well. So away from Bitcoin, are there things that you like? Are there tokens that you think from a utility perspective, from a use case perspective, that you like away from the store of value Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes. We've recommended to our clients that if they didn't want to be Bitcoin only, that they could look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, because we put those largely in the same category as like sort of core cryptos. Mm-hmm. Yep. We are also entering what I think is Altseason. Next year is really when I think the crypto market could broaden. And this is where those who are really experts on crypto, and I know you run a crypto fund, actually are gonna have some alpha, because that is actually when many altcoins could do really well. I think that the stronger Bitcoin is, the stronger the ecosystem becomes. And so many of these utility tokens and things that are tokenizing really start to have a lot of expected value. But I don't follow this as closely. Sean Farrell is much closer to sort of how to play Altseason and, of course, Skybridge.
You've previously predicted that the S&P would reach 15,000 by 2030. And what I loved about what you said is it would be factors like Gen Z finally entering into the market, advancements in AI. You sticking with that? Have you moderated it in any way? If so, how? And what are some of the key drivers that support your forecast?
Yeah, it's Yeah, that's still our case. Our base case that we're in an earnings driven cycle, aided by AI, also supported by this prime age workforce surge coming from millennials and then also Gen Z, because those two generations are larger than Gen X. So Gen X is the generation born between 1960 to 1980, roughly, and those folks are, just in the heart of the prime ages now, and now they're exiting, and now you have two huge generations behind it. So think of it as like a second wave driving further growth. S&P earnings next year are roughly 300 for, let's say, just sort of simple measures, and so that's why S&P 6,000 is just 20 times earnings, right? Which I don't think is that demanding. By 2030, we estimate S&P earnings could be 600 to 650. Okay, and I think multiples will be higher because of the larger share coming from AI and technology earnings, which naturally have higher PE multiples. And so if you just apply a 20 to 25 multiple, you're getting, 15,000. So I know it sounds like people say, well, 15,000 sounds crazy. And 2 years ago, it might have sounded crazy, even though we had, that forecast was in place more than 2 years ago. That forecast has been in place probably for 5 or 6 years. But, now that we're at 6,000, we're that much closer to 15,000. It's not a quantum leap any longer.
How do you assess the impact of the artificial intelligence? And is it all positive? Could it be dystopian? Could military adversaries of ours get a hold of it? Could someone figure out how to put an artificially intelligent worm into our Pentagon or our power system, or are you just not worried about any of that?
I would say, if based on my conversations with our clients and with other sort of folks following this, I do think we're underestimating the negative consequences of AI.
Okay.
Anthony, foremost because in a human, like in our human intervention endeavors, we work with ethical boundaries, because even though there might be a shortcut, like let's say you're waiting for coffee, you wait in line and other people are in front of you. But in an AI world, there's no benefit to being ethical. So that in the AI world, that machine will just cut the line in front of everybody to get coffee. And I haven't seen any attempts to create ethical boundaries within AI, especially other nations pursuing it. So to me, this means there's going to be much greater risk of cybersecurity hacks. And it's going to be much harder for us to protect our identities in this world of AI and social engineering and generative AI videos, and it'll be very easy to spoof people. And so I think profits are going to do fine. There's going to be a much higher cost in the economy around cybersecurity, and already JP Morgan, 7% of their activity, well, all banks really, 7% is now suspicious. It's actually been rising. So in a world of cybersecurity, banks are kind of losing the war because there's more fraud now than less. And so I think that makes crypto so much more important because it does secure your information. I think that's one solution, but so I think there's a lot of risks, actually, personally. I think if you unleash AI systems in the financial market, there's going to be a lot of people who make dirty trades that trick people and spoof people, and there'll be fake headlines because that's how you manipulate markets.
Thanks again for watching these favorite moments of 2024, and we hope we can continue to provide you with information that'll help you invest wisely and be financially resilient. Wishing all of you a healthy, happy, safe, and prosperous 2025.